Although many think that the reboot has been cancelled, the reality is that we have had no official word directly from Hasbro. This means that everything that has been talked about are only rumors and not something official. In addition to this, we must remember that since 2023 there had already been talk that the year 2024 was going to be a moment of pause for the franchise, and this did not have a definite time. All this lets us know that the reboot may still be a possibility, but at the same time it is not known the exact date of the premiere or if they have even started working on any new project. I say this because even though the news of the cancellation are only rumors, the reality is that those who were going to be the producers of that famous reboot have deleted all information about Power Rangers from their websites. With this we can understand that the reboot will no longer be with those producers who have been working on that project for some years, but it does not mean that the reboot has been cancelled. Even, the rumor that had been talked about previously was that Hasbro was no longer going to work with Netflix, since it had been said for a long time that the new Power Rangers universe was going to be released on that platform. Although all this may leave a bad taste in our mouths, the reality is that we can't take it as bad news if this rumor were true, since Netflix is not the only platform to work on a series and movie project. Right now, there are other platforms that have excellent resources to work on a project like Power Rangers, and although we can admit that Netflix is the leading platform, the reality is that it is not the only one. Even, the Transformers franchise, which also belongs to Hasbro, have always worked with Paramount, and we have already seen that they have achieved an excellent job. Despite all this, there is still the other question: if the rumor of the cancellation were true, then it is not known if the vision of the project will be the same, even if they work with other people. The vision of the reboot, since it was announced, was to create a darker universe with connected movies and series that were aimed for an audience that was older than 14 years of age. In this project we were going to see a radical change from what we know of Power Rangers, and that is why they stopped the series we have known for a lifetime. Possibly this was done so that Power Rangers would not have two universes being published at the same time, and so many parents would not be confused. This would have brought problems, because if parents got confused and played Power Rangers from the reboot to their children under the age of 14, then those children would be exposed to material that is not suitable for them. Another reason could have been for money reasons, since being able to maintain two universes at the same time was going to be very complicated, plus the old universe was no longer generating as much money and the new universe was going to need a riskier investment. We fans understand that Hasbro may not have a clear vision of what they want to do with the Power Rangers franchise, but we fans know what they should do. Although opinions are a bit divided, the reality is that the reboot option is the one that always gets the most votes, and that's because many of us are adults now. The Power Rangers reboot should change a lot of things, and there are other things that should remain intact. We are going to mention all these things in order to have a clear vision of what the reboot should be, and hopefully one day Hasbro can understand all these things so that we fans can have what we have wanted for a long time. The first thing they should change is the costumes, and it is very obvious that, in a series dedicated for a more mature audience, the Rangers can't keep having such simple costumes. However, the helmets are something that should remain the same, since Power Rangers have always had awesome helmets and they are still something iconic. Another thing they should change is the villains, something we have always seen that only scares little kids, as these monsters are created with pretty ridiculous costumes. There are very few villains that look spectacular and are quite scary, but we must also accept that not all villains should look scary. Let's talk about the White Ranger, and that is that throughout the history of Power Rangers we have seen that Rangers of this color have always been very special to fans. This may be due to the meaning that the first White Ranger of the franchise had, since its power comes from the white light of good, and this causes that this ranger cannot be corrupted, that is, he cannot become a villain. That ranger also cannot be bewitched to transform him into an evil being, and perhaps all this history caused the White Rangers to become something special for the fans. Obviously, this doesn't mean that all White Rangers have the same power of the white light of good, it just means that fans started to love the color white because of that first event with Tommy. All this history, they should take advantage of it in the reboot, since using a White Ranger to be the main character of the first series or movie could be the best idea, and maybe this can help to minimize the risk of failure. Even, in that same channel we have a series that we have created in which we included a female ranger that uses the color white, and that was one of the most viewed videos of that new series. With this we were able to confirm that the fans love the rangers that use the color white, and that is why they could create a story with a ranger that uses this color. To give you an example, the story could be of this being from another universe who has been assigned by higher beings to protect the Earth, and although many have thought that the Earth is a peaceful place, this is actually going to change. In the course of his life, he begins to notice that there are evil beings who want to conquer the Earth to enslave humans, and this is why he must use the power of the white light to choose a human to become a Power Ranger to defend the Earth. This white light can choose the right human to fill him with power, and because of this it chooses a man who has a noble heart. This man becomes the first Ranger of the Earth, the new protector and the first White Ranger. This ranger can have the same details that Tommy had, a ranger that cannot be corrupted because of that power of the white light of good. Despite having a great power, the villains who try to conquer the Earth are very powerful, and this is why the mentor of the White Ranger must choose other humans to form a team of Power Rangers. In this way they create the first Power Rangers team with 5 members, and the colors can be varied. This is a good example of a story they can create for the reboot using one of the most important colors in the history of the franchise. Another thing is that this story should include beings from other planets, travels through the multiverse, magic, and lots of action. Obviously all this should be part of the story, but the main thing should be the drama, because even though Power Rangers has always been filled with lots of action, a story for a more mature audience should be centered on drama. What has made superhero stories successful for many years has been to have a deep drama in which the characters can be well developed so that these heroes can connect with the audience. In fact, the best stories are those that delve into the life of the villain to better understand the intentions of this character and thus have an emotional struggle within us. The best way to recognize a good story is when you begin to love the villain even though you know he is evil, but because of the connection you have created with the character, you feel that he is not really that bad. Some time ago I created a team called Power Rangers Elemental Force, and if you haven't seen the story, I'm going to give you a brief summary so you can understand the rest of the video. Power Rangers Elemental Force is a fan-made team. This means that it's a team that doesn't exist in reality, and they are just Rangers based on my imagination. The theme of this team is the elements of nature, but with some small changes to make it more entertaining. The Blue Ranger is the leader of the team and controls the water element. This includes ice, snow, and everything that contains water. This Ranger is very intelligent, and his weapon is an ice axe. The Red Ranger controls the fire element. This also includes lava, and he has the ability to resist heat. Basically, he doesn't burn with anything. This Ranger's weapon is a fire sword that can cut through almost anything, and his personality is quite aggressive. There is also the Yellow Ranger, which comes from the future and controls the element of electricity. Basically, she controls energy and has a great knack for technology. Then we have the Green Ranger, which controls the earth element, and with this she can control plants, rocks, and different types of soil. His main weapon is a magic hammer with which he can break any rock, create earthquakes, and protect it from any spell. Another member of the team is the Golden Ranger, who comes from the past and was asleep for many years. This ranger is very powerful and has the ability to control all the elements. Finally, we have the White Ranger, a woman who comes from another planet and controls the air element. This ranger is very powerful and basically joined the team to help them with some complicated problems. This story has many more details, and you can see them in the video that I will leave in the description. There is also another team called Power Rangers Dragon Knights. I'm not going to tell you about all the details because the important thing I want to talk about in this video is not the teams, but the idea that many Power Rangers fans create stories and teams every day, and sometimes they are amazing ideas. I'm not saying this because of my story, I'm saying this because many of you wrote in the comments several of the teams you have created, and some of those ideas are even better than many teams we have seen in the history of the franchise. It is for this reason that sometimes I don't understand all the mistakes they made in the 2017 movie, as any fan could have created a better team. Even though we have talked several times about this movie, in this particular topic we also have to talk about it, since Power Rangers 2017 was going to be the beginning of the reboot, but because it was a failure they had to cancel the whole thing. Precisely this is the fear we all have, because even though in that movie they did an excellent job with the special effects, the style of the story, and the darkness of the drama, the most important element they didn't have. Any Power Rangers fan knows and understands the true essence of the franchise, and it is for this reason that many of the teams you have created are better than the one we saw in Power Rangers 2017. Even though many of you have commented that you would be willing to watch a Power Rangers Elemental Force TV series as you have liked everything about this story, this is because I have not erased the essence of the franchise in my team. This essence is sometimes very complicated to explain, but we can mention some important things so that the reboot can be successful and not have a failure like the 2017 movie. The first element that the new universe must have is a specific thematic, and although this may not seem so important, it really is. As I mentioned earlier, I have created two teams, Power Rangers Elemental Force and Power Rangers Dragon Knights. Although the stories of these teams are combined, the themes of each one are very different, and this makes them unique. Power Rangers Elemental Force has a theme of the elements and the power of nature. Power Rangers Dragon Knights has a medieval theme, knight armor, dragons, and magic. Basically, it's like a combination of Power Rangers, Game of Thrones, and ancient magic. If we pay attention to the 2017 movie, that team doesn't have a very defined theme, because despite being the Mighty Morphin reboot and the Zords are supposedly prehistoric animals, the reality is that you can't notice that theme at all. Even, the Zords have a pretty terrible design since they don't look much like animals, and the Rangers' costumes don't have any reference to this theme either. Another important detail in Power Rangers is the custom weapons, and while not all teams have this, many Rangers have something different that makes them special. We can see this in the Elemental Force team, as each of them has a different weapon that has a special power, and this gives more personality to that Ranger. This makes the fans can identify better with each member of the team, and we can all choose our favorite. If all the team members have the same weapons, the same costumes, and the same abilities, then it gets pretty boring. In the 2017 movie, all the Rangers had the same thing, and the only difference was the colors of the costumes. This does not include the personality of each Ranger, as obviously this is going to be different as they are different people. Another theme is the special moments, coordination attacks, and team attacks. This may perhaps seem a bit childish, but it is still part of the essence of Power Rangers, and I think they can transform it to create a more mature version. In the 2017 movie there are some moments that have a bit of this, but the most epic moment they damaged it with a rather silly joke. I'm talking about the moment when the Rangers first use the Zords and we start hearing the mighty Morphin song. This was the perfect moment to give the movie all the excitement it needed for that third phase, and they damaged it when they put Billy running backwards in his Zord. This kind of thing makes a mockery of what Power Rangers is all about, and even though the franchise has always had goofy comedy, they never make jokes at moments like that. When the Rangers get to the crucial moment of battle they always get serious and there is no comedy at that moment as it is a dangerous situation where the Rangers must destroy the enemy to save the world. I know all this may sound a bit childish, but that is the true essence of Power Rangers, and that is that all of us can feel the excitement at that special epic moment. If the new creators of the reboot want the new universe to succeed, then they must place a lot of importance on the essence of Power Rangers, as that is what has kept the franchise alive. None of us remember the moments of drama, the conversations, or the silly jokes, but we all remember those epic moments when the Rangers would team up to destroy the villains at the end of the episode. We can also easily remember the themes of each season and the styles of the costumes or helmets. This is because all of that has been the most impactful thing about Power Rangers, and this they must maintain. Obviously, in order to be a series for adults they should also improve the drama, the stories, the special effects, and not include so much silly comedy, but that doesn't mean that they should forget the essence that we have talked about in this whole video. There's a new project in the works for Power Rangers, and while there aren't many details on this news, at least it's somewhat official. Hasbro's president answered a question to Mariba, a writer for the Illuminati, and told him that Hasbro has exciting plans. At the end of the answer he put several emojis implying that all these plans are being created in silence, and this is something that we have commented on several occasions. Let's analyze well all this answer, because this can have many meanings and maybe we can understand what can happen with the future of Power Rangers. First we should mention that 2024 was going to be a year of pure silence, that is, we were not going to have any new Power Rangers project. This has caused many fans to be anxious, and we all want to know some details about a new season. For 30 years we were used to getting a new season of Power Rangers every year, and that is why now it has become so hard for us to wait so long without getting anything new. The reality is that good projects take a long time to complete, and this is the next stage of this analysis. Although Hasbro's president said that they are working on new projects for Power Rangers, that doesn't mean they are working on a reboot of the franchise. These new projects could be several different things like, for example, an animated series, new toys, collectibles, or maybe just a new series with the same format we've seen all our lives. Obviously, all this seems absurd to us since we all know that the franchise needs a reboot and a transformation so that it starts to be a universe aimed for a more mature audience. The reality is that the children's series was no longer working, and even if they did something totally different, if they create it for a child audience, it is very likely to get the same numbers as the previous series. The reality is that I don't think Hasbro stopped the children's series to come back and create a different children's series that they have to invest more money in, and this can be identified with the obvious moves. Power Rangers has always used the Sentai scenes, and this means that Hasbro doesn't have to invest so much money in production since the most cost comes from the Japanese series. If they start creating another children's series without adapting the Sentai, then Hasbro would have to invest more money to be able to create all the action scenes, which are very expensive. In the end, Hasbro will get the same audience results, but they will have spent much more money and this would not make sense. It is for this reason that the only real alternatives that may exist are the reboot for a more mature audience or the animated series, which represents a smaller investment and is likely to have a larger audience than the typical children's series. Although the animated series may generate good revenue due to the small investment Hasbro has to make, the reality is that this will not elevate the brand in a way that will make it a great competition, and what it may cause is that in the long run Power Rangers will cease to exist. We all agree that it would be nice for Power Rangers to have an animated series, but this series cannot be the only thing that sustains the franchise and cannot be the main entertainment. This is because these animated series don't have as big an impact as a live-action series, and it's not going to have the same impact that a reboot with a Marvel-like level would have. In this channel we have talked many times about what Power Rangers could be if they managed to create a universe in which series and movies are connected, but that all the visual part is of a high level. If they managed to create a new Power Rangers universe with a visual level as the 2017 movie had, but that could have all the essence of the franchise, then it could become a good option for all those Marvel fans. You have to remember that even though it seems like there could be a competition, that really doesn't exist anymore due to digital platforms. These days there are platforms like Netflix where if you want to watch a movie all you have to do is enter the platform and choose what you want. After you finish that movie you can look for another one and watch it with all the patience in the world. Because of this is that Power Rangers should aspire to be like Marvel and create a connected universe aimed for a more mature audience. This new universe must have excellent special effects so that it can appeal to those fans who are used to a higher level of visuals, and with this the franchise can share all those Marvel fans who have never seen Power Rangers. It is for these reasons that the smartest path Hasbro can choose is to create a reboot for a more mature audience, but they must invest the necessary money so that the investment does not become a loss. If the company doesn't invest a lot of money, then the special effects are going to be mediocre and the visuals are going to continue to look like what we've had all our lives. This is not going to appeal to new fans, and the reboot is going to be a total failure. Although the Hasbro CEO did not give details about the projects they are working on for Power Rangers, we must understand that the best things are achieved quietly, and maybe they are just starting everything from scratch. Let's remember that the producers who were going to be in charge of creating the new universe have deleted all Power Rangers information from their websites, and this can only mean that they are no longer part of the plans for the future of the franchise. My theory is that the reboot that had been planned for a long time and had been in development for several years has been cancelled. However, Hasbro possibly started looking for other alternatives, and this could have happened for several reasons. Remember that recently there was a rumor that Hasbro and Netflix were no longer going to work together on the reboot, but that is still not official news. Despite this, shortly after that we noticed that the producers deleted all the Power Rangers information, and perhaps this may have confirmed these rumors in some way. This could mean that maybe Hasbro wasn't liking what these producers were creating, and maybe they simply decided to pull them out of the project. Still, it doesn't mean that they have decided to stop working on the reboot with Netflix, and maybe it's just a change of producers. Another important detail is that Hasbro is still working with Netflix on other projects and also works with other platforms like Paramount+. This means that Hasbro has other companies that they can work with comfortably, and they can create a new high-level Power Rangers universe. The thing is that in order to achieve that, They have to work for a long time because these high-level projects can't be created with the same speed as the Power Rangers series we've seen all our lives. Write in the comments your thoughts on the reboot, like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers news.